Was a team that everyone said was lottery bound, that everyone said October was a fluke, that everyone said finally found themselves as what they really were when they struggled through November and into December, that everyone said was not going to survive without their captain of Evgeny Malkin. Well, here's the reality. For the first time since 2022, the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to the Stanley Cup Playoffs. They've punched their dancing ticket with a 5-2 win over the New Jersey Devils.
Oh, Lord Stanley, get me the brandy.
Welcome to another edition of Get Me The Brandy, and not just a regular edition of Get Me The Brandy. Oh no, a special edition of Get Me The Brandy, because after Thursday's 5-2 victory over the New Jersey Devils, your Pittsburgh Penguins are back in the postseason for the first time since 2022. That's what makes it special, and that's why this will make for good hockey talk, which is why I also welcome my good friend and colleague on SNP, the old two-nighter Phil Bourque. And I think I've set the stage, but I don't need to. Plain and simple, how excited are you to be back in the NHL's second season for the first time in 4 years?
I'm beyond good to be on with you, Dan. And yeah, it's kind of refreshing that we have a day off here after the win in New Jersey last night, and it's nice to not exhale, but just kind of soak it in and absorb it and appreciate it for what it is, right? Because those 3 years, I think you'll admit, Dan, and you've been on this run for a while too, that we certainly never became spoiled when we were making the playoffs every single year. In fact, so many years it was just confidence. It wasn't arrogance or cockiness that we expected to make the playoffs. And the question was like, how far can we go? How deep can we go? And then to be 3 years without the playoffs, and some of those stretches in April were just gut wrenching, right? Especially the first time we missed the playoffs, when all we had to do was beat the Chicago Blackhawks, and we dropped the ball there. That's in the rearview mirror. What's the most important thing is that we're back. And it's good to talk about it, because I've been saying to people, hey, let's not have any kind of premature celebration here until we get that X next to our name. And once you get that X, you can enjoy it. You don't have to sweat the last 3 games. Not only did you get the X to get in the playoffs, but with the Flyers losing, you got home ice advantage. So check and double check. You got what you wanted. Now it's about buttoning things up, staying healthy. And I can only imagine, Dan, what PPG Paints Arena is going to be like. Game 1, whoever it is, Columbus, Islanders, yes, earmuffs, Columbus, Islanders, or Flyers. It looks like it's going to be one of those 3. Can you imagine what that building's going to be like, what the city's going to be like? Because we've been starving for playoff hockey, and it's finally here.
Oh, I can remember, because when the Penguins got back into the postseason during Sidney Crosby's second year after having a little drought, it was jumping. So yes, I do expect the needle to go like this when it comes up to buckle your seatbelts and get ready. So going back to 2022 very quickly, there are only 5 players remaining from that squad. So with the new guys that have come in via free agency and the draft pick, in particular Ben Kendall, and some of the young faces we saw along the way, and the players that were acquired during the season, can you describe in a very short sentence the job that Kyle Dubas has done to put this team together that has allowed them to return to the postseason?
No, I can't. Next question, Dan. No, I can't. I'll do my best. I really will, because I would rather just go on and on and on. But for the sake of time here, it's pretty remarkable. It's not supposed to happen this quick, that a guy comes in and gets his hands, number one, into the ingredients, right? But number 2, to be able to bake the cake, and it to be a very strong and sturdy and tasteful cake, which it is. It doesn't happen this quick. And so for him to kind of, and the term that the Penguins are using, and I like it, Dan, flip the script, to turn things upside down so quickly and to make things work. Some of it's luck. Let's be real about it. A lot of it's doing your homework and skill and patience and kahunas and all the things it takes to be a really good general manager. But again, you never really know until the group gets together. And for me, that's one of the most important things is the intangibles, the stuff we don't always see. And yet you and I get to see some of it, but a lot of fans don't see what's going on behind the scenes, on the planes, on the buses, in the locker room, in the meal room, all those things that bring teams together, they matter. And when you've got skill and you've got talent and you've got a hunger to win, and then you get the guys to come together, it has to happen organically. As a coach or a general manager, you can't make it happen. It has to, you got to hope you've done your homework and you've got good hockey players and good people, and they come together to form a team, to form a band of brothers, to start liking themselves and then start loving themselves and then start winning hockey games. Kyle Dubas has done his homework and he's got the right guys, not always the best guys, because those aren't the ones that always win you hockey games and get you to the playoffs. It's the right guys, and he's found a bunch of the right guys that belong in Pittsburgh. We're in the black and gold.
Real quickly, you talked about the kind of cake and that the script has been flipped. Would that cake then be an upside down pineapple cake?
Oh, Dan, save it for the playoffs. Dan, save it. That's really, really good. No, it's true. And Kyle has a way about him, and you've been around him and you've talked to him. He has a confidence, and I don't know. I don't know if I would ask him this, but I wonder if a little bit of it is him saying, I took a lot of heat in Toronto. I didn't always have it wasn't always my hands in the ingredients, if you know what I mean. There was some outside influences. He's got the ball. This is Kyle Dubas. There's no doubt about it. This is Kyle Dubas's team. Great job by Fenway to say, here's the keys to the caddy. Now go and run it down the road. And he's done just that. And I think he has that little bit of a swagger and a nice healthy chip on the shoulder to prove a lot of people, as well as a lot of team players on the Penguins team. But for Kyle, that healthy chip on the shoulder, that I want to prove a lot of people that were bad mouthing me and thought, Kyle Dubas, come on, in Toronto. And sometimes that can be a healthy motivation.
So there are many reasons why the Penguins are enjoying the success that it's allowed them to talk playoffs for the first time in a few seasons. One thing that stands out, and you mentioned briefly some of the things that Dubas was able to do in the offseason, and we talked about, again, briefly, some of the trades, but the depth on this team. A big reason why they've been able to roll four lines, now be north of 280 goals scored on the season. How important is that depth, or how important has it been to get to this spot and now to have that depth moving forward?
Great question. It's imperative. It's vital. It is lifeblood to winning games in the postseason. Because I don't care if you're talking about our group back in 91 and 92 that won, or here in 26, or anybody in between that's won the Stanley Cup. It's the same things that win. Star players, goaltending, really solid goaltending, and a bunch of third and fourth line guys that are having career years that probably came from other organizations where they weren't a good fit. Coach didn't like him. Whatever the situation was, good hockey players, wrong team at the wrong time, didn't fit, miscast, whatever. They come to the Penguins, fresh sheet of ice, and they're like, wow, what a great opportunity. I like it here. I like Pittsburgh. I like the coach. I like the general manager. I even like the sideline reporter with almost no hair. I like all of it. I love everything about Pittsburgh, and I want to be here and I want to win hockey games. So all of those ingredients have made this thing really, really special. And who knows where they're going to go, because a lot of people weren't really sure where that 2016 team was going to go, Dan, right? And they kept on winning hockey games, and they got all the way to the top of the mountain.
Like the upside down pineapple cake, I'm going to ask you to save any further comments about the sideline reporter for the postseason. Just saying that right there. Hey, had a chance to visit with Stuart Skinner on the postgame show after the victory in New Jersey. And one of the questions I asked him was, hey, look, you have had the opportunity to make a couple of deep runs in the postseason with the Edmonton Oilers in each of the last two seasons, both of them falling just short of the Stanley Cup. So what kind of hunger is left burning in his belly now that he's about to do so, enter the playoffs again with a new team. And
Yeah.
is he the odds-on guy that the Penguins will look to in the postseason, knowing that that fire is burning?
I say this with a reservation of I hope it doesn't come out in any way, shape, or form as a slight to Artur Shilovs, because
Oh,
he's had a heck of a season too. And he's won also. He won last year in the American Hockey League, which is not an easy thing to do, to take that team to the promised land and be the MVP of the playoffs in Abbotsford in the American Hockey League. So with that being said, to answer your question, Dan, yeah, I think that Stuart Skinner will be the guy that will be handed the ball and say, hey, run as fast and far as you can, and we'll see where this thing goes. And I think a part of it is because he's kind of the veteran guy. He's been there, done that before. And again, I hope it doesn't come off as any kind of slight to Artur Shilovs. It's not meant that way. I just think that if it's 51-49, which it might be, that Artur Shilovs is the 49 and Stu Skinner is the 51, that I think he will start game number one, and we'll see where it goes. And that's one of the great things. Again, we talk about the depth on the skaters and the forwards and the defensemen that the Penguins have, and goal too. Whether it's Stuart Skinner, whether Artur Shilovs, whether it's Sergei Marashov, whether it's Joel Blomqvist, you're four deep with guys that are really good. And like I go back to when we needed Frank Pietrangelo. We needed guys like that. We needed guys, depth guys, and that's a huge strength for the Penguins, because when you think about Philly, you're talking about Columbus, or you're talking about the Islanders, the three teams we might play. They all have strengths, but they all have weaknesses. But what are they saying about us, Dan? Who wants to play the Pittsburgh Penguins right now? And they're like, they got Crosby, they got Malkin, they got Carlson, and they got all this depth, and they got depth in goaltending. We don't have any of that. So we've got a lot of advantages, a lot of bullets in the gun, if you will, going into the postseason that a lot of other teams don't have.
so let's stay with the fact that Skinner has that experience. He's got that fire burning. You go into that room and you think about guys like the big three, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang.
Yeah.
Who else would you want leading the charge into the postseason when you have, and we talked about the depth, guys like Ryan Shea, Ben Kindle, who have never experienced the NHL postseason? I think Igor Chinikov is also on that list.
Correct.
Those are the guys that are going to look to the experience of them, much like Skinner, to help lead the charge. Just like those experienced guys will say, okay, take what you can learn from me, but bring your talent along with you, because we need your help too.
Another great question. Yeah, I like it. I like the way you worded it. You need that blend, right? And that's why whenever I look at teams that are having a really good regular season, what the first thing I look at is guys on that team that have won before, because you need a little bit of that. We needed the Paul Coffeys, and we needed the Brian Traches, and even Joey Mullen, who won in Calgary. We needed those guys to kind of show us the way. But you need some kind of, and again, take this as just me saying it. You need guys that are kind of young and dumb, right? That haven't been there before, that are just wide eyed, and a lot of times that's why the first round is so important, Dan, right? That you need your leadership to say, hey guys, go this way. Hey guys, come down this path with me. I'll show you the way to win in the playoffs. And that's what you need to show some of those guys that have never done that before and what it takes. And once you can hopefully you can get through that first round, it's contagious. That winning is so contagious. You get one taste of winning a round. The city, the ticketing, the elevator operators, everybody's really excited, and it's a powerful thing. It is like a huge boulder that starts running down the side of the mountain, and you can't stop it. When you get a city and you get everybody involved, but the hardest thing to do is win that first round. And for a lot of players, and I was there, Dan. I mean, I had won a little bit in the past, but I'd never won at the NHL level before. I needed guys like Koff and Trotz and guys like that to say, hey, this is what is coming. This is what we need to expect. This is what we need to do in these situations. And you're like, oh, okay, I didn't know that, but now that I do, it makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that, Koff. And you start winning, and you start finding out how hard it is to win in the playoffs. I said this so many times, Dan. Winning the Stanley Cup in '91, the first cup, was the hardest thing I physically had ever done in my life, but it was also the most rewarding. And it'll challenge you like nothing else in this world will challenge you before you've played the game or after you've played the game.
You mentioned something, Borky, about uh, going down the hill, picking up momentum, not being able to stop. That's been Erik Karlsson for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
He's been a major factor, if not the top factor, or 1A, 1B,
Yeah.
in helping this team make that push. How does that continue? How does his play continue as we move forward?
That's it. Yeah. Don't change. Don't
Yeah.
try to be the hero. Yeah, that's what I would say. Just be consistent. Just take what is given. Just be that cerebral, really smart Erik Karlsson. And stay within yourself. Your instincts will tell you when it's time to really push the envelope. Penguins down the goal, 3 minutes to go in the game. Maybe that's the time. But for the most part, keep creating your offense from your strong defense. Man, he's been so good defensively, and I didn't see that the last couple of years. And it galvanizes a team because guys are sitting on the bench watching just like you and I are at the perches we're at, and it's inspirational. It really is, and just keep doing that. Don't try to be, superstar Erik Karlsson. We don't need that. That will happen organically. It'll happen because you're such a great player and your instincts are so good. But don't try to force things that are not there. Trust your teammates. Trust your defense partner. Trust the guys you're on the ice with to make things work within the framework of how you won games on a consistent basis during the regular season. Your just competitive nature, Eric, will drive you to do special things during the playoffs at special moments. That's just who you are. But once you start to force things that maybe are not there, that's when you get yourself and your team in trouble.
Okay, so if you look at the X's and O's just a little bit without knowing who the Penguins will play just yet, uh, it's always important throughout the season and even more so in the playoffs to have the ability to roll four lines. And that fourth line is a big one too. It has been for the Penguins with Dewar, Lizotte, and Achari. Their impact
Yeah.
extremely noticeable at various points of the season. So over the last couple of weeks, Blake Lizotte out with an injury. Connor Dewar did not play last night. We don't know his status yet. How does that line continue, even if it's forced to fill in with other players? Because, hey, Phil, let's face it, all season long, they've been mixing and matching the pieces, and it's been working. They've found a way to fill the holes. But I guess in the big picture, you want that top fourth line back at it.
That's one of my top 3 questions going into the postseason. If everybody's healthy, you can't put 4 guys on the line, even though you'd love to, right? Because Elmer Soderblom has been really good, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Like Blake Lizotte goes out, and we're like, who are we gonna put on this line with Dewar and Achari? Soderblom goes on there, and you're like, oh, this works too. What's the chances of that?
Yeah.
Because that line with Lizotte, Dewar, and Achari, arguably the best or one of the best fourth lines in the whole NHL. And so we don't know the extent of the injury. We think it's something small with Connor Dewar. But in the meantime, I think I don't know. I'm not in a position right now to say, oh, this guy should come out, that guy should come out. If Dewar, Lizotte, Achari, Soderblom are all healthy, you would think just because Soderblom's low man on the totem pole, least experienced, and has only been here for a handful of games, that he would be the easy guy to take out of the lineup. But a 6'8" guy that's in a 7-game series that's leaning on you, leaning on you, leaning on you. You're just like, oh my goodness, get me away from this guy. By games 5, 6, and 7, the last thing you want to see is that big galoop jumping over the boards, leaning on you, leaning on you. It wears you down. So he's got something that nobody else on that line has. But with that being said, Dan, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here. Dewar, Lizotte, and Achari are magic together. Big decision to be made.
Tell me if I'm wrong here. Nothing can wear a team down quite like the two-headed monster. How many times have we seen it over the years in various playoff runs, including the run to 4 Stanley Cup finals, 3 of which ended with the Penguins doing this above their head?
Yeah.
I'm setting up Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. After not being able to shine and take the stage for the playoffs. I don't know. It's almost, to me, scary in a good way to see when it comes to hunger, like with Stuart Skinner, what they have in store. Has to be exciting.
No, you're right. And this is what they wanted, right? And you don't always get what you want, but they did get what they wanted. They were kept together for this moment coming up here for the Penguins after game 82, starting with game 83, first game of the playoffs. This is what they wanted. And so now that you have it, don't let anybody down. Don't let yourself down. Don't let Sid down. Sid, don't let Gino down. And you're right. It seems like they're pretty healthy. And it seems like they're starting to really get some traction and play some good hockey. I love Gino's game in New Jersey the other night. Galloping Gino, strong defensively. The wing position has fit him well. And I think once we get to the playoffs, I think they're going to push each other. I don't think in a conscious way. It's almost a subconscious way that when Sid sees Gino going, it gets him going, and vice versa. And that can be a good thing. And if you can kind of bring back, like you said, that two-headed monster that was so good in 09, 016, and 17. Man, there's not many teams that can roll, two lines or different individuals on separate lines to shut them down, because you know as well as I do, Dan, there's another gear. There's a playoff gear, even though they're 39 and 38. There's a playoff gear that's hiding inside there that's ready to be unleashed. And we can only just wait and see on how great the two of them going to be. I just think being out of the playoffs this long and everything that's gone on with contracts and all the whispers and everything else been going on in behind the scenes, that they heard it all. They know what people are saying, and I think they're going to let their actions do their talking for them in the playoffs.
Okay, so as we do this edition of Get Me the Brandy, only a handful of games remain in the regular season, and there's a race for third place with the Penguins' victory last night and the Flyers' loss. The Penguins guaranteed the 2 spot and home ice in the first round. So the battle for number 3, Flyers, Islanders, Blue Jackets, and Capitals. Can I put you on the spot? Is there maybe prediction's not the right word. Is there a gut feeling from you that you think, for which team you think will fall into that spot?
The problem with my answer, Dan, is my gut feeling is tainted by my hatred for one city and one organization. So
Well, at least you're honest.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, and again, selfishly, I just think as a hockey fan too, as a Penguin fan, just a fan of the game, I just would love to see the Penguins and Flyers get it on again. That's what I like. I love, the white hat and the black hat, and now you got Rick Tocchet involved with the Philadelphia Flyers as their head coach. And the last time the Penguins won a playoff series was 2018 against the Philadelphia Flyers. So, yeah, man, I just selfishly, I want to see it just because of the history in the playoffs, the history of the regular season. I've said it once. I'm going to say it again, Dan. I know you're sick of me hearing it from me. 39 and 3, 15 straight years when we went to that spectrum, and boom, 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 they just kicked the living snot out of us on the scoreboard and on the ice. I don't forget it. I was a part of it. A lot of people are still around, Penguin fans, that watched it and they know about it. And so here we are, 46 years later, or whatever it is, it still burns inside that we want payback. You kicked the snot out of us so many times that we still want a piece of you. The score has not been evened yet. So I think, again, selfishly, I would love to see the Penguins and Flyers get it on in a Keystone battle one more time.
You mentioned that winless streak against the Flyers, and there's only one way I could respond to that with that rivalry in mind. That's all I can say. But I do want to ask you this. Can you, again, with the weight of these last few years with no playoffs, with Crosby, Malkin, and Letang getting older, the new players, the new coaching staff, could you not, again, if you've waited that long to get back in as players on that team and fans of this team, the Flyers are that's what you want as a fan, right? You want it against your arch rival because that's what it's, I mean, the NHL playoffs, and you and I could argue with some other people, but I don't think there are any other leagues that match the NHL playoffs. Suspenseful, edge on your sitting on the edge of your seat, upsets, everything. You get it every year nonstop. And now you throw in what could be your longtime rivals after this wait.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, and like even I think the Rangers and Islanders rivalry, which is a good one, right?
Yeah.
I still think it takes a back seat to the Penguins and the Flyers. And now just listen to you talk, Dan. I was just kind of racking my brain, like, well, who else is there? Because Detroit and Colorado, now they're in different conferences. It's not the same. It just wouldn't have the same fireworks as it did back in the 90s. I'm really just starting to rack my brain of who else is there? Who else out there? Penguins in Washington, maybe. Yeah, sure, but maybe this being Ovi's last year, and I think that would be kind of right. There would be some fireworks there, and Tom Wilson, the history with him and the Penguins and all that. But I still just think because it goes back so far that both the Penguins and the Flyers both came in 1967 as the next six after the original six. There's just a lot of comparables. And again, a lot of this healthy hatred that we just love in sports, we love in hockey, and we especially love come playoff time hockey.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see how things all come together over the next few days. And it's nice to be in a position, and I'm speaking of the Penguins, where they can kind of sit back and let the rest of the dogs fight it out for that other spot, and then start to game plan, then start to figure out, okay, let's put together the X's and O's. Those are the players. Then you, myself, Josh Getzoff, Joe Brand, Haley Hunter, Jay Caulfield, the rest of the group get to put together the storylines for whatever the opponent may be. And that also in itself, a lot of work, but a lot of fun to put together.
A lot of fun. This is the fun stuff. And as players, this is what all the lifting weights and running and biking and swimming and all the things you do in the off season to prepare your body for an 82 game schedule. Yeah, it's for the 82 game schedule. But what is it really for? When you're doing those extra sets, those extra reps, the waking up a half hour, all those little things is now for this stuff, right? That you've prepared your body. Preparations meet an opportunity, and that's when good things happen. This is the best time of the year. The dogwoods are blooming. The Masters is on, right? And all of a sudden, you have everything kind of coming to a close here. And for some teams, it's going to be a screeching halt. You get a feeling that it's going to be probably game 82 before we really find out where all these pieces are going to end up being and who's going to be playing who, when, and where, and all that. But that's what makes it so much fun, is the speculation and just watching. And you're right. I don't think Dan Muse is going to allow the Penguins to exhale. You want to take a little bit of a breath and heal yourself mentally and physically. Get yourself really geared up and play the right way. 2 games against Washington, they'll make you play the right way because they're fighting for their playoff life. And then you got that game in St. Louis to wrap things up, which might be a meaningless game, but I've learned a valuable lesson. When you take any games not at 100% at the NHL, that's when bad things happen. And you don't want to get into any bad habits. You want to take care of yourself physically and mentally and get yourself ready to go and just keep the train moving down the tracks. Everything is one step forward, gearing up for that first game. And the one thing I realized in the playoffs, whether it's game by game or series by series, you have to find a way, whether it's just 1%, to get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And even if you take a step back, the next game you need to take 2 steps forward. That's what, again, makes it the most challenging, but also the most rewarding thing in all of sports. Stanley Cup playoffs. Giddy up. Let's go.
Let's go. And the work has already begun for me. I've already started to Google how to make upside down pineapple cake. Stay tuned for that and much more playoff coverage coming your way with the Old 2-Niner and a host of others right here on Get Me The Brandy.
Oh!